When I say The Weeknd, what adjectives do you think of? Dark, jaded, sexy, edgy, depressed? I don't know about y'all, but the last few months, things have felt different. Look, I love The Weeknd and what his art has represented to not only myself, but millions of people around the world. But even I gotta admit, hearing him say,
"What a fucking boner killer,"
was just a little jarring. Regardless of what point you started listening to The Weeknd, but especially if you'd been listening since Trilogy, Kissland, even Beauty Behind the Madness, it's easy to see that The Weeknd has changed. Some may even say he's losing his mystique, his aura. Why is that? Here's some of my thoughts. 2011 feels like such a long time ago, man. I was 12 at the time, so I spent my days reading the Hunger Games series to impress my crush, memorizing the lyrics to Super Bass, and shuffling to LMFAO's party rock anthem. But just below the surface, a behemoth was being born in a house of balloons. An aspect that I feel goes overlooked by a lot of newer Weeknd fans is how, at the time of Abel's historic Trilogy mixtape run, we had no idea what this dude looked like. Was it even a dude or a band? Our imagination was allowed to run wild as to what The Weeknd was, where he came from, what inspired this beautiful voice to make such dastardly, unholy music. I look at songs like High for This and the Titty Alert record of his first mixtape, House of Balloons, which established the Weeknd character as someone who embellishes in a lifestyle of drugs, lust, and cheap thrills. But following those songs on the track list is a record titled Wicked Games, which gave us a sliver into the soul of the man under the mask. Yeah, he's a degenerate that would leave his girlfriend out of nowhere in order to chase these cheap thrills, but it's all just as I said before, a mask. He reveals himself bit by bit in lines like,
"Bring your love, baby, I could bring my shame. Bring the drugs, baby, I could bring my pain.
And listen, ma, I'll give you all I got. Get me off of this. I need confidence in myself." Underneath this enigmatic figure is someone who's been beaten down by life, relationships, even by himself. This is a side that The Weeknd doesn't like showing, as he alludes to later on in Beauty Behind the Madness, The Hills, where he says,
I only love it when you touch me, not feel me when I'm fucked up, that's a real me.
The other thing about the Weeknd character established during the Trilogy mixtapes is his fixation on growth. And no, I'm not talking about personal character growth, at least not yet. I'm talking about his growth as an artist, into a pop star, a star boy. One of the most eerie and foreboding songs of The Weeknd's whole career is Rolling Stone off of Thursday, which I would describe as an open letter to his fans. XO. See, before XO turned into the global cult-like phenomenon that it is today, before music became so accessible and easy to discover, The Weeknd was more like people's dirty little secret, and there's an intimacy that came with that.
That the town shit, that shit go hard. I had about like 4 bitches bumping ass to that shit, nigga. That shit go hard as hell. I'll let your boy dog.
I just wanted to say I love your music and I love your voice and congratulations on all your success.
I'm high as fuck right now.
Hello?
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 What's up?
What's up?
You want to read it?
This is The Weeknd.
Oh my God, Abel, I just want to tell you that I love you so much. Continue to keep doing what you're doing.
And with that comes a sense of possession of a piece of The Weeknd. For some people, The Weeknd spoke to things bubbling inside of them that they didn't know was there. Even more so, things that they were scared to admit. But what happens when others start to fall in love with something that you thought was yours? What happens when you find out that what once felt like yours actually belongs to the world? One might feel heartbroken, uninterested, maybe even resentful towards it. That's what Rolling Stone is about. And man, Abel didn't just read the script, this motherfucker wrote it. And I think there's something so powerful about that kind of autonomy and willing something into existence. Especially when he hit lines like, "Until you're used to my face and the mystery fades, baby I got you. So baby love me before they all love me, until you won't love me. I'll be different, I think I'll be different. I hope I'm not different, and I hope you'll still listen." Fast forward through Beauty Behind the Madness, Starboy, My Dear Melancholy, After Hours, Dawn FM, and The Weeknd stands as one of, if not the definitive music artist of this generation. But along the journey, we've gotten to know the man behind the mask, almost uncomfortably so. For example, Blinding Lights, which will be without a doubt one of, if not the definitive song of the 2020s. Now sure, it's a flashy song featuring cinematic and pristine synths, a hook that's undeniable, and a great Take On Me sample, but look a tad deeper into the lyrics and you'll see this record talks about the Weeknd's issues with codependency in a relationship, as he talks about running out of time and not being able to find peace until he feels her touch one last time. How he trusts her more than himself in times like this. He dives deeper into this on A Tale by Quincy off of Dawn FM, where legendary producer Quincy Jones tells the story of how his lack of a maternal figure led to him pouring his love into all the wrong places, leading to feelings of insecurity and tremendous amounts of guilt, a parallel to the Weeknd's whole journey up to this point. There are some guys who did a really good deep dive on Dawn FM, which should have just popped up on the screen. I'm struggling to figure out their names, but I really enjoyed their thoughts. Meanwhile, on Sidewalks off of Starboy, he gives us really slick line hinting at a lack of a father's presence in his life.
Grew up with no father, so nobody ever sent me.
Or the most shocking revelation in my opinion, how all this time, this dude who talks about the way he flicks his tongue, having sex in the studio, how he does this often, was actually a virgin. Never been touched, pure as a dove.
I know you can't believe it's true, but I'm man enough to say to you, I'm up.
Which brings us to 2023, and this is where I want to discuss exactly what rule I feel like the Weeknd has broken, and why it might have the most devout Weeknd fan questioning themselves a little bit, and outsiders saying that he's a fraud. But in order to do that, I feel like I need to bring you up to speed on something that I've found myself enjoying a lot lately, and that is none other than pro wrestling. Now, contrary to popular belief, wrestling is more than just all the silly gimmicks, memorable characters, or acrobatic stunts. It's building that connection with people, the audience. And just like any form of stage play entertainment, there are two fundamental things that wrestling relies on. Number one, storytelling. If you're on the outside looking in as I was and you think the crowd is popping the way they are just because some person walked on stage or because they did some crazy looking move, you're wrong. They're reacting the way they are because of the moments and venomous words leading up to that moment, the history behind that signature move, the real life scandals and rumors that only insiders know are informing the story they're watching. Thus results in the creation of legends, superheroes almost, and iconic moments like the Undertaker's streak and the Montreal Screwjob, just to name a few. However, the second one is what I want to focus on. That is the suspension of disbelief. Now, the suspension of disbelief is a concept that I describe as the bottom pieces of a Jenga tower, the stick that a tightrope act holds and relies on as they make their way between two buildings. Move too far one way or another and you'll find yourself crashing and burning before you can even finish saying my name. And it's literally 3 letters. The audience doesn't believe these two people absolutely need to beat each other up to achieve their goals, and you're just watching 2 grown adults pretend to fight for 10 to 20 minutes. But if you can get the audience to believe in the situation, you can avoid dropping their suspension of disbelief.
You are definitely still and always be, in my view, a B+ player.
You can take them on a journey that leaves them screaming, speechless, crying, maybe even inspired. Now, in order to achieve this, people within the wrestling profession have coined the term kayfabe.
Shut up! No!
See, in order to preserve the illusion or smoke and mirrors of the show, wrestlers are encouraged to carry anything that happens within the ring into the real world. This includes gimmicks, names, personality traits, even feuds. It's not to say that all wrestlers have to live their lives solely based off of what happens in the ring. As I said before, there are definitely instances where real-life events lead to storylines within the ring. But if The Rock can get you to believe that he really hates John Cena, hell, even if he can get you to ask yourself whether he hates him, then by God, you're invested. Yes, the storylines might be fake. The weapons are fake. The gimmicks are fake. But the connection, that part is real. Now, how does this relate to The Weeknd? Well, let's get back to how we started this video. When I think of The Weeknd, I think of dark, cinematic music with seductive lyrics and catchy hooks. But let's go beyond just the music. When I think of The Weeknd as a character, I see someone who's constantly struggling with his demons. Someone who shrouds himself in the darkness to protect who he really is. Someone who can never truly love himself. Since his debut in 2011, Abel's carefully crafted a character and a story that started off in the House of Balloons, took us to Tokyo, Japan, as well as the dark and seedy gutters of Los Angeles. We've seen him grow into a global phenomenon and get his heart broken time and time again. He's included lyrics about real relationships that we got to see unfold in real time, making us believe in The Weeknd as a living, breathing human. But lately, we've started to see the man behind the mask, and not only that, we've gotten to see him smile. Maybe a jarring image to some of you. We see him posting memes and tweeting like a teenage girl, playfully beefing with Oreo and random people hating on his show The Idol, which is a whole other mess I want to get to in a bit. People are starting to get turned off by The Weeknd because, well, he's been breaking character. He's been breaking kayfabe in this 12-year feud The Weeknd has had with Abel Tesfaye, and you know what? Right now, Abel's got The Weeknd on the ropes, and we're all just waiting to see whether Abel can pin him down for the count. 1, 2, 3. Kind of a side note, but this to me is why I never loved the idea of The Idol. The last 12 years from House of Balloons to Dawn FM has felt like a journey with a beginning, an end goal, and many memorable moments and steps to get there. Meanwhile, his character in The Idol, Tedros, was such a drastic regression back to that guy we met at House of Balloons, maybe even worse. It felt like we were treading ground that we had already covered before, but in a medium that left less to the imagination. Because instead of being able to imagine the lustful and sadistic world of The Weeknd, we were forced to sit through 10 minutes of, this.
Fucking stretch that tiny little...
But I digest. Much has been said about the direction in which this final Weeknd album will take. I, as well as I'm sure a lot of other people, am rooting for The Weeknd to finally shed this mask that he's been hiding behind for so long. The same mask that millions around the world have fallen in love with. However, there are also a plethora of people that secretly want The Weeknd to overthrow Abel, that want him to fall back into the man he used to be. Now, regardless of where you're at with that, what I'm ecstatic for is to see whether or not there will be any resolution for the people who have believed in The Weeknd and the story he's been telling for the past decade. What other trials and tribulations must the Weeknd character go through before Abel sets down this wounded and weary persona for good? Something tells me that the answer is just on the horizon. Hello there. Thanks for stopping by. Just wanted to let you know you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more updates on stuff I'm working on. And also check me out on playback.tv/Pio's Place, where we can hang out and talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Till next time, guys, take care.